Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk this evening about um, traveling while you're on Whole30. So I'm taking most of this. Melissa Hartwig did a really great post about, I believe it was called Business Travel and Whole30. And it's great. I'm just going to read off my notes because we all, your life's never going to be perfect when you're on Whole30. Things are going to happen. You're going to have to travel, you're going to have to do different things, and you can do Whole30 anytime if you're prepared. Okay, so traveling, it's all in the preparation. Everybody thinks it's so stressful to um, to travel when you're on Whole30, and it's not about food; it's about the stress. So if you can get the stress handled, the food will be no problem. Okay. And Melissa talks about being a little OCD with it, but she swears it's worth it. And I have followed her advice, and I do believe it. I mean, it's happened for me. So I will try to quit rambling and get to the facts at hand. Okay. All right. So what we just said was you think that the problem with traveling is about getting compliant food, and it's really not. It's about stress because you're running around and all of a sudden you're hungry, and now you might be tempted to eat something that's not compliant. Whereas if you knew exactly where you were going and exactly what you were doing, um, there would be no stress. You'd already have it planned out and you just have to follow. Okay. So planning is the key. All right. So, um, again, on the planning, if you plan things out, um, there's no room for stress because you're just following steps. So you're just okay. Hey, we're at the conference. We're doing this, that, and the other. I know I'm going to so and so for lunch, and I'm going to have a chicken salad there. Okay. So the more you plan, the easier things are. Okay. So when if I'm assuming this is flying, if you're doing a road trip, um, that's fairly easy. You can always pack a cooler full of everything and just get more ice along the way. If you stop in like a gas station or whatever, I have found more compliant jerky in gas stations in the past couple of years. You can probably get some nuts. They're going to be a little bit harder, but you can do nuts, you can do hard boiled eggs, things of that nature. So, and you know what? 7-Elevens anymore have salads. So, road trips really aren't that hard. It's more with the flying and whatnot. So, we'll go to that. So, when you book your flight, try, if possible, and this isn't always possible, but try to make it so that you don't land between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. if you have to get in a car and go somewhere, because you really don't want to be flying and then hit rush hour. It's just a pain in the butt. So if you get to your, um, well, let me back up. All right, so try to get your flight handled that way. Then look for a hotel or a Airbnb near your event and also near like a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, an Aldi, something like that. So just, you're sitting at your computer, you're figuring out your trip. Just try to, you know, put in your event, and then put hotel near me, and then put in Whole Foods near me, and then just start working backwards. Okay. So when you do get your hotel, try to find, if you Airbnb, you're obviously going to be in a house, so you will have a kitchen. If you're going to do a hotel, try to get one with a kitchenette or like a comfort suites or something with suites in it because that usually means it's a little kitchenette. Um, or you can also ask just to have a refrigerator brought to your room because if they don't have one, which most do anymore, they usually have one or two laying around that they can bring up to your room. Put a room in the kitchenette. Let's see. Okay, so if you land before 3 o'clock and before the whole rush hour thing starts, go directly to the grocery store. A lot of times you can't check in until 2 or 3 anyway. So land, you can check your bags, run over to the grocery store and load up on your Whole30 stuff. That's going to be completely up to you. As long as you've got a refrigerator, you can pretty much do whatever you need to do. Typically, they'll have a microwave as well. Microwaves aren't, your first choice, but if you want to be real anal retentive, you could always pack like a hot plate or something. Let's see, what else do you want to do? Okay, so you've got your hotel and your air all handled. Then figure out what your events are going to be, what times things are going to happen, and sit down and plan out where you're going to eat breakfast for the days that you're there. So if you're there for a week, plan out a week's worth of going to breakfast. If it's something you're going to like, you can maybe hit it 2 or 3 times, but try something different. It's usually pretty good. And then to also take a look at their menu. Most restaurants have their menus online now, so that's not a problem. So get that all handled. And again, I know it sounds a little OCD, but if you have a plan, then you don't have stress. And if you have a plan and you don't have stress, then you're not going to have a problem with your Whole30. So once you get your breakfast done, then go to lunch places, figure out some lunch places or somewhere you can pick up a quick salad, something like that. Get all those handled. You can do Yelp, Google, all that kind of stuff. Open table. And then for dinner, make reservations for dinner because you don't want to get somewhere and then have to wait 45 minutes or something. So make sure you get dinner reservations. Melissa also says that if you're with a group of people and it's going to be 5 or 6 people coming out or 10 or 12, go ahead and volunteer to do all the reservations because then you'll go somewhere that you can find compliant things. I'm going to sneeze. Maybe not. Let's see. When you are looking up restaurants, dinner specifically, sometimes lunch, look up American food, and it'll usually say American, like new American food. That's going to be more your hipster stuff, your more Whole30 stuff, or look up organic because you can go to a vegan restaurant and bring your chomps or something. That can also work too. You'll get your veggies and your fat. You just have to add your protein. So look for organic, new American food, and if you just throw grass-fed in there, you might get a burger joint that has grass-fed beef or something. So that would be helpful as well. Make reservations. Okay, and now this, whether you're on a road trip, whether you're just having a long day, just a normal day at home, always have an emergency stash. So if you're going to be gone for a week, have a week's worth of an emergency stash. Don't go anywhere without your chomps. I don't go anywhere without my chomps. Kind of embarrassing, actually, but I always have chomps on me or at the bottom of a purse or whatever. Have your Lara bars, your nut butter, anything that you can pack that will save you if you're just starving and hungry, that you can eat that'll keep you compliant. Now, if you have medical issues, this is not gonna work for you. But if you're somebody who doesn't have medical issues and you just get in a bind, sometimes it's okay just to skip. Just don't eat lunch or don't eat dinner or whatever. You're not gonna die. Now, if you have medical conditions, that's a whole nother thing. But for somebody who's just not able to go to a place to eat, you can maybe just skip it. We'll call it intermittent fasting and you'll be, again, really hipster. I also wanted to talk about, if and then. So you've made all your breakfast reservations, you've made all your lunch reservations, you've made all your dinner reservations. I guess you don't really have to make reservations for breakfast, scratch that. But also be looking at your itinerary and see where you might have problems. So say that one day could go late and you may not be able to get to that dinner. Pull out your journal. Remember your journal. We had that whole thing where it said, if this happens, slash, then I will do whatever. Kind of look through your days and say, okay, well, if my conference runs late and I don't get to dinner, then I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. Okay, so figure out what it is. So let's just say I'm going to run crazy throughout the conference and I'm not going to get lunch. Then I'm going to eat a chomp stick and have a little avocado that I had packed or something. I'll eat my emergency stash. So figure out where things might go wrong and then already have a solution. You may not need to use it, and that's fabulous, but it's there if you need it. So it's all about planning. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but literally this, booking your airfare and finding your restaurants and all that kind of stuff might take you 2 hours, but then you don't have to think about anything when you get where you're going. Okay. And I don't mean to do this in an OCD kind of way. If you're on a family vacation or something, then you need to have a little more wiggle room and whatnot. But if you're on like a business event or something and it's only you that you have to take care of, then this is what you want to do. Okay. My little tip is my husband and I travel a lot. We have an app called TripIt, TRIP, one word, IT, TripIt. And we paid for the upgrade or whatever. Every trip that we have goes in there. And so like when we make airline reservations, it recognizes the itinerary and it automatically imports it all there. So then when we're on our trip, we just go to TripIt and the hotel reservations are there. Any events that we've booked with our email addresses will be there. It's really, really a great app. So I would highly suggest that. There's a lot more travel tips out there, how to pack a cooler on a road trip, this, that, and the other. But I really just wanted to talk about this kind of stuff. And I think that you could figure out pretty much all the trips that you ever wanted to do off of that. I think that's about it. If you do any camping trips or anything like that where you're roughing it, that's usually typically pretty easy just because you're doing your own cooking. So you're bringing your own food in your cooler. So that kind of stuff you can figure out. But, like when you're in conferences and whatnot, those are kind of crazy. And everybody's trying to ply you with alcohol, at which point you just say, no, thanks, I'm not drinking right now. Period, end of report. And anybody that tries to peer pressure you on that, you smile real pretty and say, no, thank you. And if they keep going and keep going to the point where you're annoyed, you just look at them and go, why is my not drinking bothering you so much? And then you might end up with a Whole30 buddy because they may have some issues that they need to handle too. All right, kids, it's late. I'm tired. But I hope this helps you a little bit. If you have any questions about this, just go ahead and send them back to me and I will try to clarify them on the next video. Okay? All right. Have a great night. Talk to you.